Hi, my name is Nancy Rendon,
Hi, I'm Sergio.
Hey, I'm Ani.
and this is our presentation on the 2011 Nabro eruption. Our disaster was a volcanic eruption, which is considered to be a geophysical disaster. Geophysical simply means that the disaster occurs from activity happening below the Earth's surface, whether that's tectonic or seismic activity. The Nabro volcano is classified as a stratovolcano, also known as a composite volcano. This just means that the volcano is formed through layers and layers of hardened ash. A stratovolcano is your stereotypical volcano, which is shaped like a cone and produces lava flow and eruptions, as you can see in the diagram on the left. On the right is a satellite image of the Nabro volcano erupting, and you can see the lava flow in orange. The volcano is located in a country called Eritrea, which is in the volcanic region of East Africa along the Red Sea. More specifically, it is in southern Eritrea near the border of Ethiopia, as you can see in both the images. It is also a part of a belt of active volcanoes near the Afar Triangle, which is located in Ethiopia.
So what actually caused the volcano to explode? So about 5 hours before the explosion of the volcano, there were several earthquakes that led to the explosion. They were about in the border of Ethiopia and Eritrea, and all of them were about 4.5 or greater magnitude. All these earthquakes were about 19 to 17 earthquakes, all occurred within the 5 hour period, and that ultimately led to the volcano being erupted. It happened more of like a bottle being shaken up, so that meant the volcano just erupted out of nowhere. And now for the actual eruption, it occurred on June 12th, 2011. From there, it was the first eruption of that volcano in about 10,000 years. From there, it was more than just historical, as it produced the highest level of sulfur dioxide into the air that can be seen from the Earth and from above space. From there, it was about 14,000 meters up in the sky, and that created more than just an effect on human health, but also created an effect in the darkness of the sky and of the villages nearby. So, what exactly is an ash cloud? An ash cloud is injected small jagged pieces of rocks, minerals, and volcanic glass that all explode whenever a volcano erupts. On the picture on the left, there's a small picture of ash being thrown off of a roof of a building. That's not exactly a picture from the actual villages, but an example of how much buildup can be caused on top of buildings and how much an effect can cause on food and water as well.
So the Nabro volcano eruption killed 7 people, and it resulted in 48,000 people requiring aid. People from 8 villages, the villages of Baidu, Afderu, Erbiti, Eladar, Teru, and Kori, were in need of aid. And unfortunately, ash covered all 8 villages, and an entire community was not heard from. The ash polluted springs and streams, which affected people's drinking water. At least 5,000 people were impacted by the pollution of the spring. One of the major lakes in the region, Lake Afrafra, was contaminated with sulfuric acid from the stratovolcano. That obviously caused massive economic damage and a food shortage, because people need food. People put salt in their food. And since sulfuric acid contaminated the water, the salt was basically inedible, and that had economic damage also, because local companies were not able to extract the salt from the lake. Major airports in East Africa were either shut down or considered the possibility of halting flights. And the ash also led to the consideration of major airports in Israel and the United Arab Emirates shutting down. In fact, one of the world's major airlines, Emirates, had to cancel flights due to the ash plume, which obviously affected trade, commerce, and people's general travel plans. So what impact did this eruption have on civilization, and what can we take away from this? Well, this was a medium-sized eruption. On the VEI scale, this was a 4. And it shows us how fragile our civilization actually is, because this medium-sized eruption led to airport shutdowns in East Africa and shut down a major international airline at a major transit point such as Dubai. This was the first eruption from this volcano in 10,000 years, and typically if a volcano hasn't erupted in 10,000 years, we consider that volcano extinct. But it is now time for us to reconsider. is that volcano actually extinct, and is human settlement around the volcano safe? We never truly know if a volcano is extinct, and we should probably take a holistic effect of the after effects and plan for the future.
During our research of the impact of volcanic eruptions, we came up with the idea of there being something of a disaster mitigation map. It would look something like the map on the right, except that this one is for disaster management of flooding, but the general idea is very similar. There would be different colors signifying whether a zone near an active volcano is dangerous or cautious or just safe. A dangerous zone would be the area of highest risk of harm and damage, so no settlements or civilization should be allowed to be there. The cautious zone would be the next level of risk, and the settlements should can be allowed to be there, but they are just on high alert for an evacuation notice. This map would easily prevent any unnecessary deaths and damage of homes and buildings simply being damaged because they were in an unsafe area.
So we felt in order to give perspective about this particular volcanic eruption, the Nabro volcanic eruption, we should compare it with the most powerful eruption in human history, which is the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia. And Mount Tambora was on the VEI explosivity index, it was a 7. And it's interesting and it's good to compare because both these volcanoes are stratovolcanoes. In that particular eruption, the ash from the volcano dispersed around the world, and it actually led to a brief period of significant climate change. In fact, folktale says that it was the year without summer worldwide, and that resulted in vegetation being destroyed. It triggered a moderate-sized tsunami, and the ash from the Nabro volcano killed around 7 people directly. But the ash from this volcano killed over 100,000 people, and it led to extremely cold summer temperatures in Europe and North America and caused global famine. In fact, volcanic eruptions really do have a major impact on human civilization because if it's enough, they fundamentally alter human history. Like, there's a theory that Napoleon may have lost his battle at Waterloo because of the rain as a result of this volcanic eruption. So large volcanoes really do have the potential to alter human history. And so in that way, we actually lucked out with this volcanic eruption because it was fairly small and it didn't do as much damage as it could have. And that should really make us think and consider how we prepare for these volcanoes and what are some steps that we can take to prepare for these volcanoes. So if a large volcanic eruption like Mount Tambora eruption occurred, it wouldn't affect our global economy as much as it did in the early 1800s for Mount Tambora.
As we grow up, we often appreciate the beauty of Earth and where we live. But we often kind of forget the negatives and cons that might happen within this Earth, which those are the disasters. As recently in our age, we have become used to technology and it's become a big part in our lives. From there, that can be used to prevent all disasters to cause the powerful damages that they do. Back in the Nabru explosion, technology wasn't at its peak, and we were still trying to find and create all these new inventions and trying to find what best works for us and society. In that case, the people were not prepared at all. They had no idea that that volcano could even erupt, and they had no plan executed or no plan in case it did explode at all. Most of them didn't even think it exploded. It did explode until it was confirmed by scientists that the explosion came from the actual volcano. From there, those people had to adjust not only for their food and for their waters, but also had to change their way of lifestyle as their homes were being polluted and their health were being affected by the ash clouds that came from the volcano itself. Nowadays, we can be more efficient and find new ways in order to prevent those people from suffering the same disasters events that happened before. I know it can be hard to predict and exactly pinpoint when an earthquake or volcano might erupt, but being able to monitor and be able to keep a close eye on these earthquakes and disasters, it can be a life-changing moment for somebody. For those people who died in the Nabru explosion from the volcano itself, it was under 10 people. Those people could have been saved if there had been any monitor of that explosion and earthquake, and now we can continue to do more and more research in order to prevent something from not happening ever again. And that concludes our presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you.